Doing great. All right, got a great group, a motley crew. There's Rebecca. Who else do I got over here? I got Lisa Street, Kim. Great job, by the way, Kim, on your activities up there in northern Utah, getting the jets to fly over. They flew right over my head, by the way, on the 4th of July. That was so fun. So good to see got Jeff Seat in the house, Shannon Porter. All right, Dustin Morrison. All right, guys. Hey, so good to be with you. So, hey, look, as we go through today, what I want to focus on is really how to master and to control the story. Now, I know we talk a lot about this, and unless you just completely ignore everything I have to say, it's often my conversation that's happening. And part of that conversation comes from when I started in this business. And when I was in this business, I remember I was 22 years old. I started at a Coldwell Banker, not what we know Coldwell Banker to be today. It was actually just a franchise of the Webbers. Some of you may know the Webbers in Salt Lake. In fact, Scott Weber today owns a bunch of Sotheby's offices. In fact, owns one right in Westlake and also owns ones in Park City and in Denver. So has a lot of connections from that standpoint. But as I was there, I remember I early on started to have the opportunity to go prospect. And as I went through that process of prospecting, I remember how petrified I was. I mean, what's crazy, I can still, if I go back to this moment, I could feel literally my hands are getting clammy because I can remember how nervous I was when I would sit down at this cubicle. And I had been told, you know what, you need to go make some contacts. You got to go talk to a few people. You got to prospect, George. You got to generate some leads. You got to communicate with people. I mean, it's probably said to me, who knows how many different ways. And as I sat there and I did that, what was interesting is I had literally zero success. I had no one saying yes to me, no one saying that it was going to be something that they wanted to do in the sense of meeting with me, talking with me. And I was calling all sorts of people. I was calling I was calling for sale by owners. I was calling expired listings. I was calling just listed, just sold. I was calling around new listings in an area. I was even reaching out to some of my sphere, but I was only 22 years old. And that got me really nervous. No one walked me through those stages. And I can still remember all the angst and the anxiety. And I don't know if you can relate to that, but I do know this, that prospecting, lead generation, talking to people, communicating, whatever you want to call it, can be really, really overwhelming. And we can get really, really scared in regards to that conversation, what is or isn't. And so I want today to give you just a handful of things that I believe are going to be very practical. I also believe they're going to be things that you're going to be using. This morning, if you haven't listened to it, I spoke today earlier at our morning ascent. I talked a lot about our centers of influence. I've gotten a lot of texts back of people having a real identity with their ego and a real identity with the reasons why they're not reaching out, why they're not doing videos, why they're not doing what they're doing because of what people are going to say, what people are going to think. And just the simple terms of just simply saying, I need your help. I often talk about this idea of, yes, I want your help. Or sorry, I want to help you versus now I'm suggesting that there are people out there that want to help you. And you're never going to get to the top of the mountain alone. It's just, and even if you did, what a lonely place to be if you're at the top of the mountain all alone. So recognizing that as you're climbing the summit of your life, climbing the ladder of success, recognizing that you're going to need a handful of people to help you, I hope that you recognize that those individuals are there to help. And I really believe that this universe, God, will provide opportunities for you, that there will be opportunities for you to meet the right people, the right circumstances, the right situations. And they're going to come about. They guaranteed will. So going back to my early days in prospecting and the fears that came from that, I came away with a number of things. And what I came away with is, first and foremost, is that I needed to create a better story. Now, I didn't say it that way then. I was a lot less sophisticated. I just knew that I needed to tell myself something different, because what I was telling myself was, this is horrible. I hate doing this. I hate prospecting. I don't like to talk to people like this. I don't know if real estate is for me. And I started really having these deep level anxieties as to how I was going to go out and produce business. And I started even thinking that maybe I needed to do something different because of it. And so the thing that I realized then is that I don't think I'm much different in this arena than anybody else. A lot of people say, well, George, you can just jump onto a phone today and you can jump onto a video call, or, sometimes you don't even seem like you've prepared. And I used to have all these fears, and this is when I came up with these sayings. And so I want to give you just a few of them that may be helpful for you, and you can try them on, and they may give you ideas and thoughts to expanding on a different story and a better way of saying to yourself as you're moving through this. Guys, there's lots of things to avoid calling. There's lots of things to avoid making contacts. There's lots of things that we can do to really, in so many words, not really do the job of real estate. And the challenge with that is that although you can excuse yourself and you can do lots of different things to try to produce different levels of business in different ways, the fact is the undeniable truth is that if you want to succeed at a high level in this business, you have to speak with people consistently. And as much as we want that to be a different answer at times, as much as we wish that it was people always calling us, as much as we get sold from other trainers and ideas that are given to us that we can buy our way to success and that we may never have to talk to another person again, that's just not reality. It's just not. I mean, if you want to win the game of real estate, you've got to communicate consistently with people, and you've got to do it in a highly effective way. So if you want to win the game of real estate, let's get much better at how we prospect, much better at how we generate leads. Let's get much better about our communication skills. Let's get much better in the way in which we use our structure and our discipline on a daily basis to talk to people. And let's see where that might take us. So look, you may say, well, I don't need much rah-rah. Well, look, rah-rah is if you're an unmotivated person, well, then maybe you need some. But if you're motivated, my job is really only to help you remind yourself as to why you're motivated, so that you can take all of these answers and move back into this prospecting, back into this communication, and that you can really take advantage of the time that you have on a phone or in front of someone and be able to do your best for them, to help them, to serve them, to bless their life because you showed up. And part of that is crafting and developing and manufacturing a better story within yourself. So as you go through and you start thinking about your story, what is your story about prospecting? I can remember mine. I hated it. I just be candid here. I hated prospecting. Some of you are probably on this call going, yeah, that's me. I hate it. Yeah, I get it. I can remember saying that I would always say, I don't have time to prospect. Or I would make excuses for anything and everything else under the sun that I could possibly come up with to excuse myself from the idea that I want to prospect or should be prospecting or have time to prospect. I could give any excuse. I was the best at excusing myself from the idea of prospecting, talking to people, communicating. I mean, we'll even change the word. Let's not call it prospecting. Let's call it lead generation. Or let's not call it lead generation. Let's just call it talking to people. Let's not talk and say sales skills. Let's use communication skills. I mean, I get it. All the words that we use have an impact and have an idea, or have an energy to them. And they have an energy that brings us to a place of, man, I can do this versus, man, I'm going to really try to avoid this thing. Well, for every one of us, if you want to truly win the game, I don't care whether your sources of business are internet leads. I don't care whether your sources are your sphere, your centers of influence. I don't care whether it's just listed, just sold, for sale by owners, expireds, whatever your source of business, and frankly, any industry, because we have many people who listen to this from different industries. No matter what your industry is, the end of the day is whatever you want to call it, it still is. You have to talk to people. No matter what your sources are, no matter where they're coming from, technology may create efficiencies. Things you may do may create efficiencies, but at the end of the day, you have to communicate with people if you want to be good in this business. Not only just good, you want to be great, you got to talk to people. So I remember, as I told you, I'm going to give you just a few of the sayings I had. One of them was this: I was always so nervous when I was prospecting. And so something that came about for me is that I'd prospect, I'd be nervous. I'd go out on a listing presentation, I'd be nervous. I'd meet with a buyer, I would be nervous. It didn't matter what I was going to do. I wanted to perform at such a high level, and I had such high expectations for myself. And I wanted to do well, and I wanted to do good things, and I wanted to help the people, and I wanted to bless their life. I came into the business wanting that, desiring that, but I put this really deep pressure on myself. And so I remember that I came up with this as I was sitting one day, and I said, you know what? I've prepared my whole life for this very moment. And I'm telling you, it's a simple statement, but it has had such a profound impact on me. And that is that no matter what's coming at me, no matter how challenging it is, no matter how scared I might be, I just simply, today I'll still use it. I prepared my whole life for this very moment. Like, remember, like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to say what I need to say, if it's going to come out right, or I don't know if I'm going to be prepared, or well, what if they don't list, or what if they don't buy, or what if I don't say the right thing, or what if they don't answer the phone, what if I screw up the call, what if I prepare my whole life for this moment? I'm unstoppable. And I am telling you, that statement for me has made that the shift of the story, the change of the story that I tell myself in that one arena has made all the difference in the world. I hope that it will help. Other things that I have said over the years. Remember, I told you I hated prospecting. Oh gosh, did I hate it. And I still remember my dear friend John Rhodes came up to me many years ago. He said, hey, I got a question for you. You seem to like love prospecting. So do you really love it, or are you just lying to yourself? And I can still remember looking at him and thinking, and then looking back at him and kind of looking around, thinking about it and going, I don't know. He goes, well, what do you mean you don't know? I've convinced myself so deeply that I love it, I can't even find any more space for me to say that I hate it. Now, I can go back to those times and find it, but I can't find it today. I get on a phone call and I'm just excited. I love it. I can't wait to help someone. I can't wait to be of service to someone. I can't wait to make a difference for someone. Well, that's the shift and the change of a story. So guys, if you don't think you can change your stories, you can't. But the key to changing a story is first identifying if the story serves you or not. Right? Does the story serve you well? Does the story serve you in a way that builds the life that you want to have? If it does, then you keep that story. But as I've also said for years, some of us need to divorce the old story and marry a new one. Because there's a new story that we need to tell ourselves. And as we start climatizing and acclimating to today's new market, to today's new way of doing things, you've got to tell yourself better stories. And those stories are what elevate or demotivate or decrease or increase our emotional flavor to the day. So if you want to have an extraordinary life, you've got to recognize that your emotions have so much to do with that. So whatever story you're telling yourself in relationship to that emotion is going to be the quality of that life that you're living. Don't underestimate the magnitude of this story that you're telling yourself. So for me, that story of I can do more and handle more, I'm unstoppable, or the new story of I love to prospect. I set an appointment every day that I prospect. And that used to be my mantra. I set an appointment every day. I set an appointment every time I get on a call. I would, slam my chest just to wake myself up. You say, come on, this is also motivational and rah-rah and feel good. I don't know. I'm trying to tell you that I didn't really like prospecting, but I convinced myself over the years that I love it. And I got emotional about it. I can remember so many times where I think you guys can relate. How many times do you feel so overwhelmed, so overworked, so stressed out, so just absolutely out of control with so much going on? Well, I can still remember. I still feel that today at times with everything that's happening. But what do you tell yourself? Do you keep telling yourself, oh, I just can't handle anymore. I can't do anymore. I don't have time. Is that your limiting story? Is your story limiting you as to what you can get done in a day? Is your story limiting you? When you say, well, George, I'm just being realistic here. I really only have so much time. Yeah, you have the same time as everybody else, 24 hours in a day. No one has less, no one has more. So can you get more done? Well, I realized years and years ago when I was so overwhelmed, didn't think I could do more. Instead of saying to myself, I can't do that. I don't have time. I don't want to work this hard. I don't want to put forth that much effort. I don't want to prospect. No. Different story. My story then started to turn from I can do more. I can handle more. I am unstoppable. I can do more, handle more. I am unstoppable. Well, that's a lot better story than, well, I can't put any more on my plate. What do they want me to do? I can't do any more. I can't prospect more. I've got to do my deals. I don't have time. You say, well, George, are you making fun of all this? No. Let me think of the things I've talked about. I hated prospecting. I was overwhelmed. I always felt unprepared and anxious and scared out of my wits. So am I going to stay scared out of my wits and unprepared and feel that emotion? Am I going to feel overwhelmed all the time as I walk through my day? And am I going to be petrified of prospecting every time I pick up a phone? Well, that seems to be a pretty lame life. So I can either avoid prospecting, don't do a lot and get a lot done, and I can always feel unprepared and overwhelmed and scared. Well, I choose a different story because that's one way I can live my life. Or I can live my life with, I am unstoppable. I can do more. I can handle more. I'm unstoppable. You say, well, that's absurd. No, it's not. Because I'm living proof that you can handle more than you think. You are divine at every level. You can create, you are a creator. You are someone who has so much capacity. And yet then we walk around and tell ourselves, oh, I can't do that. I can't do more. I can't handle anymore. I'm so overwhelmed. Really? Or is that just a story you've told yourself? Do you not know people who seem to be able to get so much more done? Isn't it been said that you should give the thing you want done to the busiest person because they'll still get it done? Why is it that there's certain people that always execute consistently? Why is there people who prospect consistently and tell themselves a different story? Why are there people who become vulnerable and put themselves out there and completely open their entire life and live courageously? Why? Because they tell themselves a different story. A different story. And then they feel different. And then they act different. They perform differently. So as you move through your career game, don't underestimate the magnitude of importance of figuring out the best story that serves you, right? The best story that serves you. See, look, I had a story regarding my health. I still battle a story. I'm not here to tell you that I don't. I'm not here to tell you that health, with all the things, I used to say this about my health. Oh, I'm so busy. I don't have time to exercise. Oh, I'm so busy. I can't find time to prepare my meals. I'm so busy. Don't people know how much I've got going? I can only focus on so many things at a time. Really? When did you buy into that? See, we each have defining moments in our lives. For me, oh guys, let me plug in my battery here. I'm going to lose you. Plug my phone in here. All right. We all have these defining moments in our lives. We have moments where we come to the conclusion, we come to the understanding and the realism of where our life really is. And you can give all the reasons, all the excuses, but then there's that moment of truth, those defining moments when you call a spade a spade. And I realized that when all of the different things that were happening with the virus and the COVID and everything else, is I took a step back and it was, I have to tell you, it was a very good friend and who's become a very good friend in recent months, but also as a professional coach and coaches Olympians and coaches many great people. And it was a gentleman by the name of Dave Austin. And we had him on one of our calls, one of our coaching sessions and one of our venues for the company. And if you remember, he talked about the question of, are you going to come back stronger or are you going to come back weaker when this was all said and done? And I haven't talked a lot about this. And the reason I haven't talked a lot about it, it's really the story of Gandhi. Gandhi had a young mother and her young son who came to visit, and they had traveled hours and hours to get there, stood in the hot sun to meet Gandhi for hours and hours. And as they got up to meeting Gandhi, the young mother said to Gandhi, Gandhi, can you please tell my son to stop eating sugar? And Gandhi said, yeah, but you know what I need you to do? I need you to come back in a couple of weeks. So come back in a couple of weeks and we'll talk. Well, as the story goes, the young woman traveled back home. A few weeks later, she came back. She traveled with her young son for hours and hours. And then she stood in line for hours and hours and eventually got up to Gandhi. And she said, Gandhi, do you remember me? I wanted you to tell my son to stop eating sugar. And Gandhi got down on one knee and said to the young man, stop eating sugar. And he stood back up, and the young mother looked at him and said, Gandhi, I traveled hours to get here. I stood in line for hours and hours in the hot sun. I have to ask you very respectfully, why didn't you just say that last time I was here? And he goes, oh, well, because I was still eating sugar then. And I love that story, because what I have found in our lives is that we often avoid the things we're not doing well and talking about them. And then we'll talk about the things maybe that we're doing a little better. Well, I really have to tell you, I've avoided this topic for a long time, not because I haven't ever had a focus to it, but because it's a challenging one, and it can be a very tough one. And I think that life has so many pulls in it, so many vices in it, that it's oftentimes that we don't like to focus and talk about our health. But you know that I'm always going to talk about our health. We're going to talk about our economics, and we're going to talk about our relationships of our life. Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we're talking about stories. And I would tell myself the story consistently that there wasn't enough time to eat well, that I was too busy, that I was frustrated, that life was throwing too many curveballs at me. I just couldn't focus on so many, balls in the air. I just couldn't. And so I would literally consistently for years and years not have the health that I needed to have and desired. I mean, I desired it, but did I really desire it enough to where I shifted the story? Well, look, those defining moments for me are when you start to change the story of your life. And you start to change your story. Then you start changing how you feel. And you start making declarations, right? And so some of you maybe some of you did or didn't notice. It doesn't really matter whether you did or didn't. But I've lost over 50 pounds over the last 90 days. And I lost a lot of it very, very quickly. And a lot of people ask me, well, how did you do it? Let me tell you how I did it. I changed the story. That's how I did it. Now it's maybe I think the better question, how am I maintaining it? I changed the story. Because every day I'm sitting there looking at chocolate. Every day I'm sitting there looking at a pastry. Every day I'm sitting there looking at other pieces of food and the timing of eating that food and the amount of food that you eat and the way in which it choreographs itself and putting it into your body. Look, nothing's changed. Life's pretty much the same. The same food is around me. The same choices are around me, but I changed the story. And changing the story is a critical component. I want you to think about the story you're telling yourself regarding your health. I want you to think about the story you're talking to yourself about regarding prospecting. If you're a manager listening to this, if you're a recruiter, what's the story that you're telling yourself? What's the story you're telling yourself about being overwhelmed? What's the story you're telling yourself about the virus? Oh my gosh, I hope I don't get it. Oh gosh, someone got the virus. Yep, tragic. No question. But what's the story you're telling yourself? Is the story you're telling yourself that your body is strong and it will protect itself? That your immune system is absolutely infallible and it will protect itself? What are you telling yourself about the virus? Are you pointing to everyone else outside of you what they're not doing? Guys, everyone's going to get the virus. Remember that. Just remember that. What's the story that you're going to tell yourself about the virus? What's the story of your healing? What's the story you're going to tell yourself about how you will stay healthy how you will elevate your health and your well-being. All of us will eventually get this virus. They say that less than 10% of the world may not get it. Okay, so you're probably in that 90 percentile. So what's the story you're going to tell yourself? You're going to just paralyzed, work in fear, live in the chaos. Healthy people wearing masks seems very strange to me. Just does. We could get into a big conversation about it. But the eventuality is your body is built to protect itself. Remember that. Remember that. Now, I get it. If you have circumstances that warrant different actions for you, that's different. But the majority of you are strong and healthy. The majority of you, your immune system will protect you. The majority of you, they say that there's a better chance of you getting hit by a car walking down the street than you actually dying of the virus. Look at the percentages. So what's the story you're telling yourself? I'm not suggesting you won't get it. How will you respond when you do? What will be the story you tell yourself? A story of light, energy, a story of success, right? I could give you story after story of heart surgeries and the 14 other times that I've almost died. I went through this conversation with Jennifer. We point out all the 14 times that I almost lost my life. Okay, I'm here. I made it. So what's the story we're going to tell ourselves? Our life is a gift. And I deeply believe that your life is known. And if you look to the eternities and you are an eternal being, then does it really matter? The timing will be perfect. And you will live as a hedge of thorns. If you haven't read the book, The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews, and the hedge of thorns he talks about, your days are already known anyway. So here's the deal, gang. Don't stand in a story of fear and limitation regarding your health, regarding your economics in this business, and regarding the most important and sacred relationships of your life. You have an obligation, a stewardship to your life, to live a masterful life. Master the story, master your life. Master the story, master your life. And if you want to live an extraordinary life, then start shaping a better story all around it. Because that is what happens when you live an extraordinary life. A masterful story was created. Now look, as you each go through difficult moments and challenging times, because we all will have them. Gosh, it doesn't matter whether it's I've had heart surgeries, I've had eye surgeries, I've had knee surgeries. I mean, all sorts of, and it seems to me there was complications in a number of different ones of those. But I told myself a better story. And in the end, if I passed away, at least I lived in the light and the joy and the gratitude of the moment instead of the fear, the anxiety, the depression. That's a whole different level of living. And some of you will say, George, you don't understand. Those are fighting words. You need to be more realistic. Do I? I choose to live a life that is in gratitude and light. I choose to live a life that is one that I look back on the days that I'm here, whatever days those are, that I look back on it and I sit there and go, you know what? I mastered a story and I lived an extraordinary life that was bright and light. So whatever story is serving you, man, you keep doing that one. But if there's a story, gosh, that is not serving you, change it. You can change your thoughts. You can elevate your emotions. And you can live a more extraordinary life in regards to the actions that you live. And each one of us has that privilege, that choice, that freedom to do so. Unquestionable, live a life of more love. Unquestionable, live a life, refusing to be part of the racism and the segregations and all of the discriminations and all of the social injustices and all of the things that are not happy. Yes, be part of the solution by showing more love, unity, kindness, patience, gentleness. We could all do more of that. We could all honor those that are living a life that is valiant and honest in regards to those that serve in the law enforcement, all of those different things. Yes, but to live a life that is constantly walking around in fear and a story that is not serving you is an unacceptable behavior for a human being, in my opinion. You have the privilege, the right, and the joy to live in this life. You have the privilege, the blessing of humanity. So live an extraordinary life. And that story will be based on you taking out a notepad and just simply taking out a notepad and writing a new story. Taking a journal and writing a new story. What is a Bible? Bible is a collection of books. So what is your story? What will be your story? What will be the story you tell your kids? What will be the story that you tell those you love? Oh, the boogeyman's out there. Live in fear. Or you have a life that you get to live, the privilege of humanity, a life that is bright and light and eternal. So live an extraordinary life. Stop living in your fear. Stop living in the shape of your fear. Live your dreams, live your goals, strive towards what you want your life to be. That's what you'd be telling one of your kids. And that's what I'm telling you. Because the fact is that so many of you are living in your fear that you can't even see the dream ahead. Some of you are in such darkness and an abyss of negativity that you can't even see a bright future. Your future is based on the story and the actions that you take. Not what Donald Trump takes, not what Governor Herbert, Governor Newsom, and others will take. It has nothing to do with what happens politically. It has to do with knowing that your body will protect itself, knowing that you can shape a story that will profoundly impact your future and live an extraordinary life. So look, you want to go take more listings? You want to go work with more buyers? You want to set more appointments? You want to earn more money? You want to pay off your debts? You want to improve your health? You want to deepen your most sacred relationships with yourself, God, and your intimate partner? Then take a step forward in crafting a better story. And stop believing the stories that everyone else seems to tell you that you have to believe. All the sensationalizing of the media, all of the friends and family members who are well-intentioned but trying to put you in your place, trying to tell you your limitations. The only limitation is the limitation you continue to put upon yourself based on the story that you continue to tell yourself. You want to be rich? Go get rich. You want to be wealthy with your health? Go get healthy. And stop shaping a story that excuses you to be able to stay in mediocrity, to be able to stay in fear, and to be able to stay in a place that does not serve you. That's all I want. All I want for you is to be free. Free of the fetters of the media, free of all the negativity, free of all the poison, free of what everyone tells you you can and cannot do. Free. Free to live an extraordinary life with your health, with your wealth, and with the most sacred relationships. That is my only desire from you. And I can just simply tell you that you can have it. In its most simple terms, you can have it. But it starts with you taking responsibility. Stop looking for the government to bail you out. Stop looking for others to bail you out. Stop looking for others to be the solution when the solution resides right inside of you. And when you make that partnership with you and this wonderful, beautiful universe and God, who is there to help and assist, to bring divine intervention to your life as you shape a story, asking you shall receive. Desires that you have are yours to be had if you will clearly define them and create a better story. But if you don't get clear and you don't come from a place of certainty, which is what this world needs, like knowing where you're going, knowing the pathway of your life, instead of wondering whatever else is going to tell you where you should go. They don't even know where they're going. So how can they tell you where they're going or where you're supposed to go? Get clear, get concise. Clarity bleeds power. Clarity is power. You want to get powerful? You want to become unstoppable? Get clear. Know where you're going, set your destination, and stop living in your fear. Step up and live the life you're meant to live. Step up and live an extraordinary life instead of living a life of fear, anxiety, depression, negativity, darkness, what others say you should do. Go live a life that you designed that is purposeful, a life that you designed on purpose. No, it didn't pause and there's not a glitch in the system. I want you to hear what I'm telling you. You hear it? It is your soul, it is your heart screaming for a free gate, an opening, a defining moment to live the life you are meant to live. What do you want? Define a story around it. What do you want to have? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to help? You don't need to live in fear. You don't need to live in anxiety. All those fears and anxieties are almost never come true anyway. And even if they did, great. Maybe 1 out of every 100 comes true. You don't need to live that way. Today is your day to rid yourself of the fear, to let your life drip with gratitude. Take action in the trust that you show to this universe and to your life and to those you love that you can win this game. And I am telling you, I promise you, you can. I promise you, you can. If you will just go forward and trust that it's possible. Shift the story, shift the activity, and live the life you're supposed to live. Look, I've seen people come and go on the call. Some of you are engaged, some of you are not. Some of you are offended, some of you are absolutely inspired. As I said earlier today, 90% of the people are going to love what you have to say. And 10% of the people will never enjoy what you have to say. No matter how good it is, no matter how right it is, no matter how true it is. You have the capacity to create the life you desire. Don't delay. Live that life. Live it economically. Live it in your most sacred relationships. Most importantly, the one with yourself. And of course, with your health. Guys, I am convinced that economically, relationships, and with your health, it starts with the story you tell yourself. The reason I've lost 50 pounds is because I told myself a different story. The reason that I intend to continue to have those things not part of my life is because of the story that I tell myself. Because I'm never too busy to eat right. I'm never too overwhelmed to eat well. I'm never too overwhelmed and have too much coming at me that I can't exercise and take care of this body that is a gift to be able to operate and to move throughout this life. It's just a different story. So tell yourself one, build one, craft one. And when the negativity comes, you tell yourself a better story. Man, I can do more and I can handle more. I am unstoppable because that is who you are. That is what you are built to do. Let me just tell you, our Creator did not come and create you and all of a sudden have some destination for you to lose at life. You were born to win. You were born to win. And I deeply believe that you're a champion at every level. I deeply believe you can win at every level. Don't underestimate what you're capable of doing. Don't degrade yourself. Don't talk down to yourself. Don't do things that are harmful to yourself. You got this. So here's your action plan. Take out a journal, take out a notepad, write the new story in 3 areas of your life: your health, your wealth, and your relationships. Write the new story. And when the old story comes back, you got a new plan. I'm healthy, I'm strong, and I always will be. I got this virus. If I get it, I know I'll conquer it. My immune system is built to protect me. That's a different story than avoiding life and living. You got this, gang. Whether it's the virus or the virus of the economics, the virus of your relationships, you can conquer anything. That I am convinced of. The soul, man, a woman, is resilient beyond measure. What you can do and what you're capable of is more than I bet you either of us could ever imagine. You are profoundly beautiful at every level. You are smart, you're intelligent, you are brilliant, and you can conquer anything if you choose to do so. I deeply believe that. And if you are looking into my eyes, you know I believe it. I believe in you. And I believe in your capacity. And it is all about the story that you shape and the actions that you will take afterwards. And as you shape those things, put them into order, everything will be good. Everything will be what you want it to be. And yes, there will be difficult moments. There will be. But as we wrap up, there will be difficult moments. Of course there will be. Well, it couldn't be any other way. Because in those difficult moments, you will find the greatness of who you are. In closing, just comes to mind, John F. Kennedy, when he spoke at Rice University in Texas, he said these words, and I may mess up a word or two, but you can look them up later. He said these words: we choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. It was a choice. In this decade, in the 1960s, they landed in 1969. He was assassinated before he ever got to see it. But we choose to go to the moon in this decade. And these are the most profound words, not because it is easy, but because it is hard, and because it will unite and submerge all of our efforts, all of our energies, and bring it together. Do you realize they couldn't even successfully put a rocket into the air successfully and guide it successfully? And everyone around him said, "What are you thinking? You don't put that out there." New story, new destination, the moon. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy cool? And in less than a decade, they got there. They put a flag right there on the moon, allegedly, right? But they did. That's so cool. So where are you going? What story will you weave? And how will you conquer the negativity with a better story? And then go out and take action like crazy. Go make the calls, knock the doors, talk to the people, do what you need to do. And go live an extraordinary life, a life that you designed on purpose, not by accident, by purpose, because you designed it. That is the life that you deserve. That is the life that you should have. That is the life you are destined to build. And with that, guys, I will leave you. But thank you for your comments. Thank you for your chats. Thank you for interacting. Recognize that I recognize, and I know you do too, life can be very difficult, but you can figure it out. There's nothing you can't figure out, nothing you can't learn, nothing you can't do. And with that, I'll leave you. Remember, you are loved, you are known, and life is a beautiful thing. Go live it. Live a beautiful life. See you guys.